Can the Sarawi River give us something new today? As many of you will know, this river has served us well, and we're back on a site that has meant so much to us, and one that we've shared with friends, including the Crafty Camper Vanners and the Kentish Mudlarkers, and we found our very first bottle here and other treasures. But today we're hoping to bring something special your way, so join us as we begin our search of the Sarawi River here at Baddies Pits, and then follow it down through the valleys.
Aha, look what I can see. I don't know if you can see it from here. It's going to be a bit bumpy because, as you can see, it's a bit rough underfoot. But I found something we always find on a mudlark. It's a ball. What's a mudlark without finding a ball? There are a few little broken bits of pottery. There's a tiny bit of blue and white. We've got a bit of brown here. But look what's here. Can you see it? It's an old friend. It's a piece of ridged pottery. What is a mudlark without ridged pottery? And a piece of glass. And another piece of river glass. And a little piece of white. So what have you got, Mr. Johnson?
I have several little bits and pieces.
Right, so let's have a look.
And one very special find.
Oh right, I do love a special find.
Very special for here anyway. There's a nice little neck of a bottle that's been worn in the river. Got quite a few bits of
that's nice.
river glass. A couple of large ones caught my eye. That's obviously the bottom of a bottle there, and there's some little pieces as well. I think I got another little piece here somewhere in amongst these. There we go. There we go. And then I've got that. I'm not sure if it was a rim or a handle or what, but it's quite a chunk.
It is, isn't it?
And then little bits. But can you see what's in the middle of the little bits?
I can see it. Oh, well done. Oh, it goes down and pick that up.
The only reason I spotted it was because it's so white, because it's so skinny. Look at it.
Yeah, it's tiny, but it's a bit of pipe stem. Pipe stems make me happy. Oh, well done, Mr. Johnson.
There we go. There we go. We have found a few here.
Yeah.
We actually found, remember we found a pipe bowl here that had been trodden on, and we're not sure if it was us that trod on it.
Yes, I think it probably was.
But nice little piece. And along with the glass and the pipe stem, found some rather nice, neat little bits.
Oh, you've got a nice selection there.
Yes.
Oh, it's very delicate, and some nice blue and white and a bit of green.
Yeah, lovely little pieces there. Just ideal for perhaps using in a mosaic or something like that because of their size.
Yep.
And quite a variety.
Yep. And they look lovely, but look at this. This place on a summer's day is absolutely stunning. You could just sit here for hours listening to the river, looking at the trees and watching all the wildlife go by.
We love this place, as I've said, and there's so much to love about it. The scenery, the beauty, and of course the memories. I mentioned right at the beginning that first bottle we ever found, the Hall's tonic bottle. What a delight. We trudged through the snow and found our first significant bottle. And of course, many of you may remember that incredible flagon that we found in pieces and reassembled from the Brimawr Botanical Brewery. What a find that was, and what excitement as it came together. But of course today isn't just about about the beautiful scenery, it's not just about the glorious river and the magical memories of such wonderful times here on the Sarawi. It's also, as I said, about finding something new. And we are confident that that is going to be the case, because we've been given information by friends that is going to take us now downriver in order to make new discoveries. And here we are, way down river.
And isn't Phil looking nice and cool?
Oh, I tell you,
this is nice. With his feet in the water.
It's nice on my feet, because whilst the worst of the heat may not be upon us today, it's still a lovely summer's day, and we are under the shade of a beautiful tree, sat on a log with my feet in the water. But that's not why we're here, of course, because we've travelled down to this part of the river just alongside the village of Annesley in order that we can follow in the footsteps of our friends Mary and John. Now, when we met Mary and John, they mentioned that there was a place not too far from where we lived that we may be interested in, and that's what we're searching for today. That's why we've come downriver, and that's what we're going to go and find right now. So while we head there, why don't you pop over to the shed, because I've got those finds that Mary and John gave me on their visit, and one of them needs to be put together so we can see exactly what we've got. Welcome to the shed, and my apologies to Adi and others who missed the shed section last week, because we were away in the caravan having a wonderful time, travelling all those rivers, seeing those beautiful castles, and we didn't get to visit the shed. So my apologies for that. But we're here today, and I've got some treasures to show you. I can say it's a lot warmer in here than it is sat with my feet in that lovely cool river. But I'm okay. We won't be here long. I just want to show you what it was that I had in my bag off John and Mary when they came down to the dump and we met. So let's dig in the bag and see what we come up with. Well, first, it is a damaged item, but it is beyond repair, because as you remember, John brought me this absolutely cracking brick, but as you can tell from the side there, it blew in the kiln. So no good for the purpose it was intended, and therefore onto the dump. And that's where John picked this up, and he decided to give it to me, and that will be going into my brick collection, and at some point joining some of the others in the projects that I'm working on out there in the garden. Now for something a little bit lighter. Now this is on the other end of the scale. This is neat, it's small, and as we always love in this game, it's got some writing on it. It's got England, which was its place of origin. It's got something PAT, so that's patent. And on the top, the name of the company that made it, which is Lucas. Now I know that Lucas Girlins were a car part manufacturer, because that's where my Uncle Albert worked for many years. He worked there for about 30 years, from a young man until he was well in his 50s. So I know they produce car parts. I wasn't certain what this was, but John did inform me, as I mentioned on a previous video, it's the top of a battery. So that very posh ceramic screw top would have been to allow you to add acid to the battery on a car a long time ago. So that is a lovely find and something I haven't had before. So that's a nice addition to my collection. Okay, what we got next? This time something very different again, a piece of jewellery. Hopefully the camera is picking up on that for you to see it nice and clear. But obviously we'll show it again in the live show, and perhaps I'll try cleaning it a little. I'm just not sure what's best to do with this, because it is a beautiful green now that the verdigris has taken over and added its own patina. But as somebody in the comments said when I picked this up, this is known as a chevron pattern that's been used on here. When it comes to chevrons, perhaps some of us are more familiar with the word from those signs that take you around a corner on the road. But there you go, a lovely bit of jewellery. And I've got one more piece, and this is the one that needs my attention. Well, I suppose to be precise, I have 3 more pieces. Now, I already have learned a lot about this tile from the reverse, because this piece tells me it's Minton's. Minton's China Works. That's what it says there. And then on the other 2 pieces, I pick up information such as Stoke-on-Trent, England. So we know exactly where it was made. We know exactly who made it. What I now want to do is put it together and see exactly what is on this gorgeous blue and white Minton tile. Well, what we have here is amazing. Absolutely. It's beyond my wildest dreams, because as I put this together, I began to realize something rather peculiar about this tile. I'm sure you spotted it as well. The picture isn't there. So much of the picture is missing, because this is obviously a blue and white underwater scene. I can see a lobster. I can see the weeds drifting in the water, but there's nothing complete. And then I realized that this line along the top and the line across the bottom, that shows that this tile was part of a border. And what I'm imagining is a fishmonger's with white tiles, making the place look pure and spotless, and right around the center of the fishmonger's shop there would have been a scene, an underwater scene, and this is one of the Minton tiles that would have come out of that shop. I can't prove that what I've just said is correct as of yet. I'll certainly look into it, but I think it's absolutely amazing to realize that the probability is a fishmonger's of long ago has been refurbished, repurposed, possibly even demolished in this part of the world, and here in 3 pieces and now whole again is a Minton tile that would have adorned that place with a glorious frieze right the way around the wall. I'm just so pleased with this tile. Wow, what a wonderful gift. Thank you to John and Mary for making that gift. Thank you for not putting it together before you gave it to me, because I have had such a wonderful time sharing with everyone the joy of seeing this come together, realizing what I had. So a big thank you. You're a lovely couple. You've been so generous to us with all the beautiful gifts you've left us under the donkey jacket. And it was wonderful to meet you a few weeks ago. And hopefully we'll meet again very soon and we can perhaps make a video together. But for now, I've got to tear myself away from the shed and from my beautiful tile that is just absolutely fantastic, and get back over to continue today's search and see if Caroline and myself can tear ourselves away from the cool waters of the river to go in search of something new to share with you all.
I want to go and look at those trees and the sun bouncing on the leaves. But confession time, I've already got in the water, but that doesn't make any difference. Come on, pop your wellies on and you can join me. Let's walk over very carefully. I think we're fine. Don't think it's too deep. But it's so beautiful over here. It definitely warrants a little look. Look at the light dancing on those leaves. It's really magical. What have you got, Mr. Johnson?
I'm finding glass again.
Right.
And a rather old bit of tile.
Old but plain, yeah.
Another bit here. Nice little bit. See, it's very smooth, isn't it?
It is. Oh,
I just swilled these off in the water.
Yeah.
That one was straight off the ground.
very nice.
And now my eyes are scanning everywhere looking to see if there's more, because there seems to be a bit on this part
Oh,
of
is
the
that
beach.
a piece of glass there?
If it is, it's a green.
Yes, it's green.
Gosh, I thought that was a stone.
Yep, it's very well worn, isn't it? Very pretty.
Yeah, they're all well worn. Fair
They
play.
are.
You know, that's one of the nice things when you find something that's so smooth that it's just ready to use in a project. That's great. And that's one of the things we've been fortunate with on the Sarawi River. China and glass, finding it well worn. It's obviously spilled out over many, many years and had spent decades being washed and dried and washed. And then you get this wonderful effect.
And what have we got here? Oh, it's very heavy. You know, I haven't got my grabby thingy. I know we had to empty the car out to get some work done and we forgot to put it back in. So let's see if we can get that picked up.
Ooh. That looks like a set of wheels or something.
It does. Oh, it's the front of a trolley.
Yes. Front wheels off one of those shopping trolleys.
Wow. I wonder if it's worth a fortune.
Don't know, but there's creatures living in it, so I'm just going to put them back in so
Yes.
that they can be happy in their habitat. Every now and again, as you walk along on rivers or whatever, you see something and you think, oh, that looks man-made. Then you think, what is it? Is it just a broken bit of something that's been washed by the water? What do you think? This is what I saw. And at first I thought, that's got to be carved. And then I thought, maybe not. And I looked at this edge and I thought, oh, it definitely looks carved. What's your feelings, folks? Let me know. Do you think that's a stone that's been shaped for a purpose? I'm wondering if maybe it was a large flagstone and this was a recess, like you used to have in the floors of the mills so that the water would gather and then run out. Maybe it was that and this is just a piece off it. I think that's intriguing. Caught my eye, so there it is. Tell me what you think. Man-made or just the work of nature? Well, whether that bit was man-made or not, I can't be sure. But we'd better get where I said we were going, because there's something over there, definitely man-made, and certainly on my list of things to find.
This culvert is taking all the wastewater away down into the river. But if we turn the other way, I'll go slowly so I don't make you all giddy. There's a lovely stone wall which leads to a lovely arched bridge. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Should we go have a look? Come on then. It's a bit of a climb, so I will be puffing. It doesn't look very steep in the camera, but it really is, and we've also come from a very steep hill. Look at that. Does it echo, 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 echo? Oh, it's got a funny sound to it, but there's no echo. It's amazing the way these bridges were built. All those stones, all held in place by keystones. And from the cool shade of the bridge, oh, back into the hot sun of a Welsh summer's day in July. Look at all the growth on the wall. Very pretty. And a little spring formed in the wall right there. We've been walking down the path and I saw a drainage channel and thought, well, it's worth a little look. You never know, there could be something in it. And there didn't seem to be anything, and then suddenly there's this little handle off a cup. This piece of white china, another bit of cup handle, and look over there, it's a Shipham's paste pot. So that means that somewhere around here is possibly an old dump. Now we can't see anything at the moment, and we're going to carry on to where we plan on going, but we may come back and explore this later. Let's see how the day goes, but a Shipham's paste pot, I'm happy already.
I tell you what, there's a little bit of china there, look.
Oh.
That's a nice little piece.
Oh, look at that.
And I think this isn't a drainage channel because we haven't had proper rain for a while. I think we're in a stream.
Yeah.
It's flowing quite fast here. I think it's a stream that we're in.
There's another piece of something there. It's a bit of an old plate, I think. Oh, interesting. It's nice to find these bits and pieces. Even if there's nothing whole, it's always interesting to find things. Well, there is something whole. There's the paste pot.
Oh, paste pot 6 and breaking.
Oh, what's that? Do you think those pipes there? Oh no, it's a bit of china. Oh, now, is that a marble? I don't know. Could be a snail shell or something. Oh, it is! Look! Wow, look at that! It's a little marble, it's quite a small size. See this, Phil?
Oh, that's gorgeous. Look at the colours on that.
Is that gorgeous? What a find!
I think we'll keep walking in the stream, even though I took my wellies off before we set out.
I know, I'm the same. I've got my old leaky boots on. I thought we won't need wellies, and now I'm tempted in. I don't care if I get wet feet. I'm going to check out this little stream. Oh, there's some blue china. I feel like Sherlock Holmes. Trying to find out what's here, what's hidden. Where's it all coming from? There doesn't seem to be anything above us that indicates an old dump. It must have been washing down. The only answer. I found this bottle, but is it new? I think that's a beer bottle. Very new. Ah, well, it got me all excited for a minute. Oh, I found a coin. I found a coin. It's a shiny coin. Is it gold? Is it a gold doubloon? Oh, no. It's a 2p. Oh well. Better than nothing.
Hello.
Hello, have you found anything, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, this could well be a clue.
Ooh.
To the previous use of what is now a walk and cycle track.
That is huge.
Because of course originally this was a railway line and tramway sidings. And this is probably a spike that was bolted down in, a threaded spike with the square top that would have been used along here many years ago.
Nice find.
And here in the stream we see the first signs of what John told me about and what's brought us up from the river. As you see just there, there's almost a brick paving set into the bed of this stream, and it's those bricks that have brought us here today. Well, it's certainly interesting searching for these bricks, because I'm walking through now and it's well overgrown. That's the only disadvantage of summer. The weather's glorious, but boy, the stuff doesn't half grow. As you can see here, the brambles are coming up quite high over the path, but you can also see the residue of the bricks as we walk along. There's there's half a squared floor brick there, split brick there, another brick on the side, all the way through. We're just walking over bricks right the way through this overgrown area, and hopefully when we get to the far end, which Caroline is doing, I don't know if you can just see the red going around the corner because she's ran on ahead of me, there'll be more to find. So I'll venture up there, catch up with Caroline and see what we find. Hopefully something to show you there.
Look at this for a log pile. It's enormous. They're doing some logging at the moment, taking down all the pine trees. And if I show you up there, you may be able to see the big orange crane thing working in the distance. They've been busy. Oh, this could keep your log fire going at home for years, decades. And it goes on and on and on. As you can see, the loggers have all mod cons. They've even got a blue metal canteen. Whoa, very posh. And there's another yellow crane thing down there. He's not working today though. And that's where all the work is going on, behind those trees. It's a shame we can't watch because it's really interesting, but I'm not getting too close. Those trees are huge. When they're cutting down these logs, they pick them up with the big crane thing and they feed them through, and it takes all the branches off, and you can see there the marks from the teeth that have fed the big logs through. And this is not a little log. I put my hand there, it is enormous, and you can see there where they've actually taken or torn the branches off. They're vicious things. And the marks are all the way down the length of the tree, and they're nicely cleaned. Look at that dark forest. Oh, there's something magical about a dark forest, isn't there? You never know what's in there. Foxes, lions, tigers and bears. Well, no lions, tigers or bears in Wales, but there could be foxes.
Here in what seems the heart of the woodlands, which it is today, there are those reminders, just like this beautiful stone wall behind me, where the trees are growing out from the top, taking their grip on the things that the men built. Reminders of a bygone day, a time when this area would have been alive with the sound of industry. Now today we've got the sounds of the loggers as they're clearing the forest, but back then, 100 years ago, it would have been the coal mine and the brickworks. And of course, for me, it's the bricks that I'm looking for today, because we've heard that when the bricks weren't good enough for use in the industry, they found themselves dumped along the embankments here. Now there's been 100 years of undergrowth, but I'm sure we'll find one or two that I can take home for my collection. In fact, if I look just down in this stream to the side of me, alongside this wall, I'm sure you can see a few down there now. And I'm going to go and check if any of those have any names of interest. If they do, I'll let you know. Well folks, I'm off to a good start, because right here, first brick I've turned over in the stream. Let me show you. There we go. There's the dog bone. And if I just clean it off, exactly what I was hoping to pick up. That's the brickworks we're talking about. Annisthee Brick Company, Annisthee. And as you can see on the edge of this brick, That's why it found its way here. It was thrown out because it's been damaged in the kiln. Something marked it before it was set, so that brick wasn't fit for purpose, but it's certainly fit for my collection. So that's going home with me. As I was coming down the stream there, I could see something peculiar, which seems to be probably part of that industrial heritage, but it's not a brick. Can you see that in there? Just at the foot of this water. Oh gosh, that's heavy. Now then, looking at that, see the slot there? If that's a full slot that's been corroded up, that may have been a counterbalance weight that would have been used on the back of a machine. Whatever it is, it's too heavy to be taken from here today, but an interesting piece of our industrial past, sitting in such an idyllic location, just a matter of yards away from the Great Stone Wall, with that fantastic tree growing right out of the top of it. And as well as making bricks that were used all over Wales and beyond, of course they found good use for the bricks they made right here on site, as you can see by this rather smart waterway that's coming down through the woods from one level of the tramway down to the railway below. So the bricks from these parts found plenty of uses far and near, from building the Industrial Revolution, the collieries and the steelworks, to the houses and the terraces that the workers lived in, right through to the infrastructure that was needed in order for the very brickworks itself to function. As you can see on the banking as you climb, we are literally walking on bricks. There's a brick there, bricks protruding there, more bricks here. We're just, as I say, walking on bricks. This ground is made up of, some estimate, 100,000 bricks that were dumped over the years. And then you have the ones up on the surface. You can see that one there clearly, a brick that's been blown in the kiln. Then half bricks, 3/4 bricks, bricks amongst the tree roots, bricks over here, and just here another brick. Now that is an interesting brick. Now if I don't get a clearer one than that, that's coming with me. That's called the ruby brick, Anistee. And there are a few ideas that people have about why the owner of the Anistee Brickworks decided to have the name Ruby on some of the bricks. The Anistee Brickworks was one of the ventures of a man called Christopher Pons, an entrepreneur and developer, and he certainly hit onto a good thing when he opened his brickworks here. Opened it in 1901, then it closed and was demolished around 1948. And that seems to tie in with the closure of the colliery that was very close to this site. And of course, so often the fortunes of the collieries and the brickworks went hand in hand. Sometimes it was while clearing a coal seam that they would discover clay. But there were even times when the coal was a byproduct because they'd hit clay and then discovered coal. But the two working together, the bricks were needed for the colliery to develop and the coal was needed for the kilns. So they were a marriage of convenience in the industrial world. But what about the ruby brick? Well, there are three possible stories that are told. The one, that Christopher Pons named the ruby brick in honor of his daughter. The other, that there was a seam of clay known as the ruby seam. And perhaps the more controversial is that Mr. Pons knew a lady by the name of Ruby who he was very fond of. and therefore he put a name on the brick. Personally, I favour the idea that he honoured his daughter and put her name on the bricks when she was born. And the village itself of Ynys is an inspirational story, because whilst there are many a tale told of mine owners and how the situation of those who worked for them were dire and they showed little concern, that was not true of the man who founded the village of Ynys, because he was an enlightened colliery owner. John Hodder Mogridge, a colliery owner, pit owner here in Wales, he built a farm in these parts in the very early 1800s called Ynys Farm. And then, having become quite alarmed in the 1820s by the conditions that the workers in the mines were living in, he decided he wanted to do something about it. And he built something called the ranks. They don't stand today here at Ynys, but they were on the site of the public house known as the Black Prince. There's new developments around there now, but back in the day, back in 1824, Mogridge took the land there, purchased it, and gave it to a group of workers and allowed them to build their own cottages and allotments so that they could have a decent standard of living for the efforts that they made and the work that they did. A very enlightened action for a man of wealth and a colliery owner of the 1820s. And while the original buildings that were established at the ranks have now disappeared, the village grew and was established and is still a village that houses many people today, and has produced one or two people of note over the years, including a poet from the 1800s. Yes, William Thomas, later to become the Reverend William Thomas. He was a renowned poet, born in 1832 here in Ynys, and among his most famous pieces are two called The Storm, and one of those is over 9,000 lines long. So that is one big poem. He entered the Eisteddfods under his bardic name of Isloen, which he took from Mynyddyslwyn, the mountain that stands above the village. And he saw great success in his poetry endeavours. But it wasn't just the poets of the 1800s that made this place famous, but also a young man born here who came to notoriety in the 1960s, because it was here in the village of Ynys that a young man by the name of David Spencer grew up with his 6 siblings, as his dad worked in the mines to provide for them. He went down the mine himself at 15, but he wasn't keen. Eventually he joined the RAF and saw active service in Africa when he was 17 years of age. And then 3 years later, when he came out of the services, he decided to make use of a skill that he acquired thanks to his mum, who'd encouraged him to be part of the church choir here in Ynys, where he did really well. And he went on to do well in his singing career too, as in 1960, now known as Ricky Valance, he was the first Welshman to ever get a #1 hit here in the United Kingdom, following in the steps of Shirley Bassey, who was the first lady to do so just a year earlier. He sold 1 million copies and entered his name into the Hall of Fame as the very first Welshman to get a #1. So there's a lot of history in this little place. But of course for me, I can touch that history by taking my ruby brick made at Ynys and putting it among my collection back home. There's all manner of bricks here. There we have a split brick. There we have a quarry tile, a large quarry tile. Another one over here. Another blown brick sticking up out of the ground there. That looks an interesting shape coming up out of the ground there. Gosh, you can see how long they've been here by the way the roots of the trees have wrapped around them. So many bricks, and they have one thing in common. All of them, 100,000 of them, all rejected. And that makes you think, if you've got 100,000 bricks thrown away, how many millions of bricks did this place turn out during that almost half a century that it was creating bricks for the industries up and down the land? And here's a lovely example of what I mean by a blown brick. You can see there the way that the shape has changed. It's gone into the kiln, and whereas you want your sponge and your bread to rise, what you don't want is your brick to rise. And that's what's happened here. And that brick, whilst it may find a purpose in the garden, certainly couldn't be used to build a house or a factory or a colliery building. So it ended up among all of these here on the dump. Now you've heard of Dorothy following the yellow brick road there in the land of Oz. Well, we're in the land of Annesley, and it's not a yellow brick road, but we do have the remains of a brick road. Look at this, just going along the ground here. And there, up above this brick pathway, we can see the remains of some buildings. Now, looking at the structure here, possibly a doorway there and a window there as we look through. And I'm wondering if perhaps there were cottages here or something, and maybe, just maybe, the folks that lived in these cottages gathered the bricks that were dumped and made a little path at the edge of their garden. And that's the pathway that we've just walked across. I can't prove it, but I don't have to. After all, you know, I'm a romantic and I just love to think of these lovely things. But one thing's for sure, that the forest we're stood in today, that just seems to have been here forever, has seen a history that's very different to the present time, because something was going on here, that's for sure.
These buildings here, well, these derelict buildings, look very much to me like they were cottages too. Phil agrees. Oh, on the way up, let's have a look at this brick. I just love these loaf of bread bricks. Look how blown they are. They are just like a loaf of bread. I love them. But let's pop in the house and have a look what it was like. What were these cottages like to live in? Oh, I better knock. Must be polite. Can we come in? Oh, thank you. Right, so we walk through the front. And you can see lots of plants that I don't think are original. I would imagine that at some point these plants have replaced the table, the chairs, the little mat in front of the fire. And let's get right to the back of the wall because there's not a lot to see. We can see the back wall. Oops. The branches crunching underneath my feet. What have we got here? Ah, now do you think that was maybe a fireplace? So that's the chimney, and if you look down there, there's like a hole. So maybe that was a fireplace with a chimney. No, I think it's just a bit of, if I move this, I think it's just a bit of broken stonework. Move these Tarzan vines. But you can see that some of this wall is in really good condition when you think about it. But this is what I love. It's the living wall. It's like a big furry teddy bear. Look at that. It's all moss. Really thick. The wall's in there somewhere. Right down there. And you've got all this lovely moss on top. Oh, it's very tactile. And now we're going to climb back down and see if we can find Phil, because he's disappeared. I wonder where he's got to.
Well, I'm certainly justified today in saying I found a brick. In fact, they're all around me. If you'd like to see more of our adventures here on the Sarawi Valley, just check the link up there, because this place never disappoints. We've had a great time today. Hope you have too. If you have, give us a thumbs up.
Boing, boing, boing.
And don't forget, till the next time, have fun. Bye.